Hello, this is Professor G. Welcome to week 5 of ENT 495. Let's jump into the discussion. So we have a quiz this week. So that quiz is covering chapter 13, 50 points possible. It's due Sunday, April 7th. Financing startups. One of the biggest problems we see in the startup world is simply how do you get started? How do you find the capital to launch your dream business? Here's my tip and my life experience of 20 years working with entrepreneurs and being an entrepreneur myself. Don't use lack of investor capital as an excuse to not move forward. So, what that means is you can't just have this idea for a new venture and wait around for that money to come to you to launch your new venture. The reality is that most new ventures that are successful are bootstrapped, which simply means they find the money themselves or they work a job while they're developing their new venture. It's great to get investors and help you launch a business, but it's not as common as what most people think. So, equity financing is the sale of shares of stock in the company for cash. So, if you come to me and say, Professor G, would you invest $100,000 in my business? And then I say, not really into that kind of risk anymore. But I'll tell you what, you sell me X number of shares of stock in your company, I'll give you the 100,000. And then I own, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5% of the business, gives me something, a little bit more security. So equity financing is really splitting the pie. When I launch a venture, I own 100% of the venture. Let's say I get two investors, A and B. Now I don't own the entire pie. All I need to be cautious of is that I must maintain more than 50% ownership. So long as I own 51%, 50.5%, then I have a majority of the stock or the shares and I can direct the company. If I drop below 50% ownership, even though I started the business, the other shareholders could fire me. They effectively own the business. So just keep that in mind as you're growing the business via equity funding. We get to the first stage of equity financing, that seed state. So it's just a small amount of money, like our pitch competition at the New Venture Challenge. So at NVC this year, on April 19th, we will give away approximately $101,000. First place in 3 different event categories is $10,000. And then we'll give away an additional $10,000 to the overall winner for a total of $20K. That's pretty awesome. And that is certainly enough to move the business forward. And that's what we're talking about at seed stage infusion of cash or capital. Startup financing, a stage of financing in which the money is provided to entrepreneurs to enable them to implement the idea by funding research and development. So again, the New Venture Challenge. We realize that for many, $10,000 won't perfectly launch the business, meaning go to market, but it will get us more market research and it will get you a prototype for your product idea, or it will simply, in a main street type business, get you further along that pathway of launching your business. Early stage financing, larger funds because the business is beyond idea. So let's say you win the New Venture Challenge, you got your 10,000, you develop a prototype, and you're getting closer to market, and that's where we might get some venture capitalists to come in, some angel investors, etc. So angel investors are typically early stage investors. They tend to be groups of individuals who come together for the purpose of funding early stage startups. We Last semester, I took groups of students to 2 different Blue Water Angel Investment Group pitch nights. It was a great experience. They got to see the real world of investor funding. So I encourage all of you, if an opportunity comes up in your life to go and observe an actual angel investor pitch, do that. It is a wonderful learning experience. That being said, investors invest with the intent of getting paid back. So they want a return on their investment. It's not a gift. A venture capitalist is somebody who does this for a living. This is their full-time job, versus an angel investor who's typically retired or somebody near retirement, further along in their career, investing for both fun and for gain. Here, it's all about the money. Let's keep in mind that investors are investing to make money. They need a return on their capital investment. So they go through a list of considerations. What is the market? Is the economy good? The status of competition. There's always competition, whether it's direct or indirect. Market opportunity. Are there enough people out there that will want this to return the initial investment? Most importantly, founders. They need to get to know you, and do they trust that you have the work ethic and the grit to make this happen? The basics of valuation. The business is not valued at what we believe, it's what can be established. Okay, so let's jump. So we have an idea, and we're looking at how we value this idea. If we value it today, all we have is an idea and maybe a plan, maybe a rough prototype. So is there any value? Well, based on today, no, but that's not what we look at. The valuation is potential in the market. So we're looking at future value of the idea. How do investors value startups? They want to know your experience and your team's past successes. They want to see how many people will use your product or service. They want to know if you've got a distribution channel set up and if it's cost effective, and which industry are you operating in. A tech startup that has received a 1 billion valuation as determined by private or public investment is commonly known as a unicorn, and they are great, but they are called unicorns because they are so very rare. So we all love the idea of getting rich quick, becoming multimillionaires or multi-billionaires overnight, but it is so exceptionally rare. Convertible debt is a form of raising capital, a short-term loan that can be turned into equity. So I give you $100,000 by way of loan, but it could be converted into shares of stock in the business at a later date. This removes the need for valuation. It's simply an agreement, a contract that we enter into. The entrepreneur remains the majority shareholder. However, there are some disadvantages. Accumulating debt or liability before you even launch the company is not a good thing. And early lenders, they might not want to take the risk of having money tied up until debt is converted into stock. So, when I invest in your company, my money is now handcuffed into your company. And so that is effectively tying up my capital. And I want that to return to me as quickly as possible so that I have the freedom to continue investing my capital. Angel investors, again, these are investors that typically invest between 200 and 1,000 and a million. This is not their full-time job. They are typically successful entrepreneurs or professionals that do this in part for fun, but also need to make a return on their money. So early stage investors, usually great people to work with because they commonly will also serve as mentors and help you learn about the entrepreneurial process and the journey. Angel investors, there are entrepreneurial angels. Those are experienced entrepreneurs. They can serve as mentors. Those are wonderful people you can go to and ask questions. There's also corporate angels, usually former business executives, retired CEOs. They are great people who can mentor you on the day-to-day operations of the business and how to be an effective leader. Professional angels, we need those as well. Attorneys, CPAs, people that you can not only look to for money, for investment, but also advice. Enthusiastic angels are those ones who are going to be your cheerleaders when you're having a bad day and keep you in there when you want to quit. Um, the micromanagement angels you want to avoid. You don't want those people to tell you how to run your business. It's one thing to get feedback and to have a mentor, but you cannot have angel investors run your day-to-day operations. It will slow you down. Venture capitalists tend to operate at a level just above angel investors, meaning the amount of money that they would invest is typically more significant. It's in the millions. They're mostly professional money managers. They're doing this full time to make a living. And they're looking for 10 times to 5 times their initial investment. So, will this deal pay me 10x or 10 times my investment? Bank loans, difficult to get when you're a startup because you don't have a history. And so, when you go to apply for a mortgage to buy a home, they look at your financial history. When you're a startup business, you don't have a history, very difficult. However, there are government backed loans like, through the Small Business Administration or the SBA, which might be available to startup businesses. And here we go, SBA, Small Business Administration. And you can just go to SBA, the website, and peruse that. You'll find a lot of different loan opportunities there. It is a great avenue for you to start a new venture. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Always happy to help. Professor G.